Hello and welcome back to Particleworks Power-Ups. Today's episode comes from a thermofluids engineer at an OEM. But let's be honest, this is a problem many of us have faced. They told us, "I often forget to apply my visual template when starting a project, and soon I have numerous simulations stuck with default visual settings. We prefer exporting videos on a white background for internal presentations, but changing everything manually takes too long. Please create a macro to do this for me." Sound familiar? I know I've been there. You're deep into setting up experiments, making great progress, and then you realise you need to update multiple scenes to match your visual preferences, with no easy way to apply a template after the fact. That's why today we're building a macro that lets you create your own visual settings template and apply it to one or many simulations whenever you need, without the manual effort. Let's dive in. We will start off, as always, with our standard initialization script to access the active scene. Next, we modify the scene background settings to switch from the default gradient to a plain white background. We disable the background gradient so the scene has a solid colour, and we set the background colour to white using the hex code for white, which is a hashtag followed by 6 of the letter F. To ensure that the text elements remain visible, we need to change the font colours of our widgets to black. We use list comprehension to find and modify the widgets within the scene. First, we search for the time widget by looking for the node named time label. We then apply the same approach to the axis label widget using the name axis. And the same method is used for the color bar widget, but remember that color must be spelled in American English. Now that we've identified the relevant widgets, we need to change their font colors. The time label is set to black using the hex code for black, which is hashtag followed by 6 zeros. The axis labels are also changed to black, and the color bar has a slightly different property name. If you ever need help finding the correct name for a property, you can find this in the SDK manual, or our API training has tips and tricks for finding names. To further improve visibility, we need to change the domain and the clipping boxes to black as well. First, we use list comprehension again to find the domain node, and then we repeat the process for the clipping node. Once we have these nodes, we set their colors to black using the same hex code as before. Finally, I prefer working with an orthogonal camera rather than a perspective view, so we update the camera settings by first finding the camera node, and then we set it to orthogonal mode for better alignment and visual clarity. That's it. We've successfully set up a white background, adjusted the widget and node colors, and switched to an orthogonal camera view. You can extend this further by modifying additional visual settings or even applying custom defaults, for example enabling the current limiter. But for today, we'll stop here. So let's go ahead and see this macro in action. So here we have a simulation using the standard Particleworks default visual settings, and all I'm going to do is take my script and drag and drop it onto the scene viewer. And that's simply all of the visual settings have been updated. We're now in an orthogonal view, no background, and just using a white background. All 3 of my widgets have now been updated to show black font. If you have a problem you'd like our help with, our contact details are on screen now and in the description below. For more information about our full API online training course, visit our contact page for details. See you next time.